Imagine waking up every day to the same enemy, one that knows your weaknesses, your fears, your insecurities. It doesn't live outside your walls. It doesn't speak out loud. It whispers. It whispers through your thoughts, your doubts, your hesitations. It knows exactly when to make you second-guess yourself, when to make you angry, when to tempt you into quitting. That enemy lives in your mind. The mind, your most powerful weapon, can also be the reason you fail. It can make you chase illusions, drown you in overthinking, or paralyze you in fear. The world doesn't need to defeat you when your own thoughts do it first. You see, most people don't lose to life. They lose to themselves. They lose to that inner voice that says, "You're not enough, you can't do it, you'll never make it." But here's the truth that most people never realize. Your mind was never meant to control you. It was meant to serve you. Yet, for most, it's the other way around. The mind runs wild, reacting, worrying, comparing, replaying pain, craving comfort, and we obey it, like loyal servants to our own chaos. Think about it. How many battles have you lost before they even began? Because you couldn't control your emotions. How many opportunities slipped away because fear whispered louder than courage? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling replaying mistakes that only existed in your head? We chase control over everything. Money, people, success, but ignore the one control that determines everything, the control of our mind. If your mind is your ally, you can walk through storms and not flinch. But if it's your enemy, even peace will feel like war. That's the difference between a person who breaks under pressure and one who thrives in chaos. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's mental command. The mind can be trained, but first, you must face it. You must confront it. You must admit that the enemy isn't your boss, your ex, your critics, or your failures. The enemy is the undisciplined voice that tells you to stop, to quit, to hide, to settle. And until you silence it, until you command it, nothing outside you will ever truly change. So ask yourself, are you the master of your mind or the prisoner of it? Because that single answer determines everything that follows in your life. Your mind is the most powerful force you will ever possess. It's what builds empires, writes masterpieces, and drives humanity forward. But that same mind, left undisciplined, can destroy everything you are working for. It's not the circumstances that break people, it's their inability to master their own thoughts. The truth is, your mind will either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, and the difference depends entirely on who is in charge. When your mind is in control of you, life feels like chaos. You react to every emotion, every trigger, every insecurity. You move not because of intention, but because of impulse. You wake up in a mood you don't understand, replay old wounds you should have outgrown, and call it just how I am. But that's not who you are. That's who your uncontrolled mind has trained you to be. It drags you into places you never meant to go, and then convinces you that you chose to be there. It's clever like that, because the mind doesn't destroy through noise, it destroys through comfort. It keeps you safe, small, predictable, and numb. When your mind is your enemy, it doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you to wait until you're ready, knowing you'll never feel ready. It tells you not to try to avoid the pain of failure. It convinces you that you can't handle discomfort, so you choose distraction over discipline. It reminds you of every time you were rejected, embarrassed, or hurt, until you start believing you're not built for more. That's how an uncontrolled mind kills potential. Not in one blow, but in 1,000 soft excuses. And yet, that same mind can become your greatest ally. When trained, the mind turns into your armor, precise, powerful, and unshakable. It becomes your strategist in chaos, your calm in conflict, your strength in silence. When your mind serves you, fear doesn't disappear. It obeys. Doubt doesn't vanish, it quiets. You begin to command your emotions instead of being commanded by them. The same situations that once triggered you now challenge you. The same failures that once broke you now build you. People often think success is about external control, controlling time, opportunities, or people. But real power begins with internal control. Controlling your thoughts, your reactions, and your focus. Because once your mind is steady, everything else follows. You don't chase peace. You carry it with you. You don't seek validation, you own it from within. You stop reacting to noise and start responding to purpose. Think of the mind like a sword. A sharp sword in untrained hands is dangerous. It cuts the wrong things, including the one holding it. But in the hands of a master, it becomes a tool of precision and power. The mind is no different. If you never learn to hold it steady, it will cut through your confidence, your dreams, and your discipline. But once you learn control, once you train your thoughts to obey your direction, it becomes unstoppable. That's when your greatest weapon stops wounding you and starts protecting you. The world will always test you. People will provoke you. Plans will fail and emotions will surge. But the ones who rise aren't those who feel nothing. They're the ones who've trained their minds not to break. Control isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about directing it. Anger can destroy you, or it can drive you to build something extraordinary. Fear can paralyze you, or it can prepare you. Doubt can make you quit, or it can make you study, improve, and return stronger. It's not the emotion that decides your fate. It's the mind that handles it. You can always tell who has mastered their mind and who hasn't. The undisciplined mind lives in reaction. It blames, complains, and resists. It's loud, defensive, easily offended, always comparing, always restless. The trained mind is silent. It observes more than it speaks. It doesn't chase every thought. It chooses which ones deserve attention. It doesn't need control over others because it already controls itself. And that's real power. The kind of power no one can take away. But here's what most people don't want to admit. Control takes work. Mastery demands practice. You can't meditate once, read one quote, or repeat one affirmation and expect transformation. You have to show up every day to train your mind the way a soldier trains for war, with consistency, awareness, and patience. You have to catch your thoughts in the act, the moments when they try to sabotage you, and choose differently. You have to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, because that's where growth hides. You have to face yourself without filters, without distraction, without ego, just raw honesty. That's the battle most people never fight, and that's why most people never win. An uncontrolled mind is a dangerous place. It will twist truth into fear, turn potential into procrastination, and convert confidence into chaos. But the controlled mind, that's peace, that's precision, that's power. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through, or who tried to break you. If you can master your mind, you can master your world. The moment you stop letting your thoughts run wild and start choosing what to think, how to react, and when to move, that's the moment you become unstoppable. Because the world outside can only shake you if your mind inside allows it. Control your mind, and you control your destiny. Lose it, and you'll keep fighting battles that never existed except in your own head. So when life challenges you, remember, the fight isn't out there. It's in here. And until you win that war within, every victory outside will only be temporary. Your mind can make you or break you. Train it, master it, command it. Because the one who conquers their mind conquers everything. Awareness is the birthplace of power. It's the moment you stop being a passenger in your own life and take the wheel. Most people are not living, they're reacting. They wake up and respond to their phones, their emotions, their fears, their habits, without ever pausing to ask, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? They move through life on autopilot, letting their mind dictate their mood, their direction, their destiny. Awareness is what breaks that cycle. It's the light that exposes the chaos you didn't even know existed inside you. The truth is, you can't control what you don't understand. You can't master what you refuse to see. Awareness is not about judgment. It's about observation. It's the ability to see your thoughts without becoming them, to feel your emotions without drowning in them. When you become aware, you realize how much of your life has been run by programs. Old fears, old beliefs, old wounds. You realize that your reactions are not random, they're rehearsed. Every time someone disrespects you and you explode. Every time you feel rejected and withdraw. Every time you doubt yourself and procrastinate. That's not coincidence. That's conditioning. And until you become aware of it, you'll keep repeating it, thinking it's just your personality. Awareness is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. The insecurity, the pride, the fear, the laziness. It's much easier to blame the world, to point fingers at circumstances, to say, that's just how I am. But awareness doesn't let you hide behind excuses. It holds up a mirror and whispers, look, this is you, not the version you post, not the mask you wear, but the truth underneath. And most people don't want to see that because it's easier to be blind than to be responsible. Yet, awareness is freedom. The moment you become aware of your patterns, you're no longer trapped by them. You start catching yourself in real time. You notice the thought that says, you can't do this. And instead of obeying it, you challenge it. You notice the emotion rising, the anger, the jealousy, the fear. And instead of reacting, you pause, you breathe, you observe. That pause is everything. In that single moment of awareness, you shift from being a prisoner of your mind to being its commander. There's a space between what happens to you and how you respond. That space is awareness. And in that space lies your power. Most people live without it. They hear something offensive and react instantly. They face failure and immediately spiral into self-pity. They see someone else succeed and instantly feel envy. But the aware mind doesn't react. It reflects, it asks, what's really happening here? Why am I feeling this? That one question separates the weak from the wise. Awareness also reveals how much noise your mind makes. Sit in silence for 5 minutes and you'll hear it. The endless chatter, the overthinking, the stories, the what-ifs, the guilt, the regret. That's your uncontrolled mind trying to dominate you. Most people run from that silence because they don't like what they hear. They fill their lives with distractions, phones, entertainment, drama, busyness, anything to avoid facing their own thoughts. But growth only happens when you stop running and start listening. When you finally sit still and say, all right, mind, let's see what you've been saying all this time. Awareness doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you start noticing what you feel before it takes over. It's the power to recognize the early signs of anger before you lash out, the flicker of fear before it paralyzes you, the wave of doubt before it drowns your confidence. Awareness is emotional intelligence in action, the art of noticing without reacting, of sensing without surrendering. And the more aware you become, the faster you grow. Because every moment of awareness gives you a choice. That's the secret. Awareness gives you choice. Without awareness, your life is a loop. You repeat mistakes, chase the wrong people, sabotage your progress, and then wonder why nothing changes. But with awareness, every mistake becomes a lesson, every emotion becomes data, and every experience becomes a teacher. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? To master your mind, you must learn to watch it like an observer, not a victim. Your mind will say, you can't. Don't argue with it. Observe it. Your mind will say, you're not good enough. Don't run from it. Acknowledge it. Then choose not to believe it. The power isn't in silencing your thoughts, it's in refusing to let them dictate your behavior. Thoughts will come and go, but awareness decides which ones stay. Think about the greatest warriors, leaders, and thinkers throughout history. They all practiced awareness. They were not ruled by emotion. They ruled through clarity. They could see chaos, but their inner world remained calm. That calmness wasn't natural. It was trained. They built awareness like muscle through reflection, solitude, and discipline. And that's what you must do. Start small. Throughout your day, notice your thoughts. Notice when your mind starts racing, when your emotions spike, when your patience thins. Don't rush to change it. Just notice, That noticing is transformation in motion. Because once you become aware of the storm, you stop confusing yourself with it. You realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The most dangerous person in the world is not the one who reacts the fastest. It's the one who stays calm the longest. Awareness gives you that calm. It gives you control in situations where everyone else loses theirs. It makes you untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop being so easily moved. In time, awareness becomes your superpower. It sharpens your perception, deepens your intuition, and strengthens your emotional discipline. It turns pain into wisdom, chaos into clarity, reaction into response. It transforms your life from something that happens to you into something you create consciously. The first step to mastering your mind is not to fight it, but to watch it. Watch it when it's scared. Watch it when it's angry. Watch it when it wants to quit. The more you watch, the less control it has. Because awareness weakens illusion, and when illusion fades, truth appears. The truth that you were never the storm, you were always the sky. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about forcing yourself to live without joy or to suppress your emotions. Discipline is the art of aligning your actions with your highest purpose, even when your feelings beg you to do otherwise. It's the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Without discipline, your mind will run wild, chasing comfort, distraction, and instant gratification, all while robbing you of your potential. But with discipline, that same restless mind becomes a weapon, focused, sharp, and unstoppable. The mind loves ease. It loves familiarity. It will always choose what feels good now over what will make you great later. That's why discipline is not natural. It's built. Every great person you admire wasn't born disciplined. They built it through repetition, through small decisions that no one applauded, through the quiet battles no one saw. They chose discipline over comfort, and that choice reshaped their destiny. The undisciplined mind has a pattern. It wants results without resistance. It wants change without effort. It dreams without doing. It talks about goals, but never creates the habits to reach them. And because of that, it stays stuck, always busy, never productive, always planning, rarely executing. The undisciplined mind confuses motion with progress. It spends time, but it doesn't build anything with it. Discipline, on the other hand, is the language of mastery. It's doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's showing up for yourself when no one is watching, when no one cares, when no one will ever give you credit. Because discipline isn't about applause, it's about control. Every time you choose discipline, you teach your mind obedience. You train it to follow purpose instead of emotion. And the more you practice, the quieter the excuses become. Think about it. The greatest battles you fight will never be with other people. They'll be with the part of you that wants to quit. The mind resists discomfort, so it invents distractions. It tells you, I'll start tomorrow, or I've done enough today. It convinces you that rest is productive, even when you haven't earned it. That's not self-care. That's self-sabotage in disguise. Discipline exposes those lies. It doesn't negotiate with weakness. It doesn't wait for motivation. It acts because the mission demands it. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Discipline is structural. It stays. That's why relying on motivation is dangerous. You can't depend on feeling inspired every day. But you can depend on structure. You can depend on routine. The disciplined person doesn't wait to feel ready. They begin because they understand something most don't. Discipline creates the feeling. Action brings clarity. Consistency builds confidence. You don't wait to feel strong to start. You start to become strong. Discipline is freedom disguised as restraint. People think discipline limits them, but it's the opposite. It frees you from chaos, from indecision, from weakness. When you're disciplined, you don't waste energy arguing with yourself. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You already know your path is clear. And that clarity is power. Most people are exhausted not because they work too hard, but because they waste energy fighting their own inconsistency. Discipline is the gym for the mind. Every time you resist temptation, Every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you delay gratification, you're strengthening your mental muscle. The first few times it hurts. You'll crave comfort. You'll want to give in. But discipline is built the same way strength is, through repetition, through resistance, through the willingness to be uncomfortable for the sake of growth. When you become disciplined, your emotions stop dictating your direction. You stop being a slave to moods and start living by principles. You learn to act according to what's right, not what's easy. That's when real transformation begins. When you no longer need to feel like doing something in order to do it. The disciplined mind operates with integrity. It keeps promises to itself. It says, if I said I'll do it, I'll do it. Tired or not, inspired or not. And that's where confidence is born. Confidence isn't built through words or affirmations. It's built by keeping your word to yourself. But make no mistake, discipline is lonely. There will be days when you're misunderstood. While others rest, you'll be training. While others scroll, you'll be studying. While others complain, you'll be working. And that solitude can feel isolating. But remember, discipline separates the average from the exceptional. You can't walk the same path as everyone else and expect to arrive somewhere different. Every time you push through resistance, your mind learns respect. It learns that you are in control, not your impulses, not your fears, not your distractions. And over time, that respect turns into trust. Your mind begins to follow your lead instead of questioning it. That's when you move differently. That's when you walk with certainty. That's when people start calling you lucky, without realizing the discipline that built your luck. You must understand this. Your mind doesn't hate discipline. It fears it. Because discipline takes away its favorite toys, laziness, comfort, excuses, drama. The mind thrives on chaos because chaos gives it control. Discipline gives you control. So every time you choose to rise early to stay consistent, to say no to the easy path, you're reclaiming territory from your own undisciplined self. And here's the irony. Once you build discipline, life actually becomes easier. The decisions that once drained you become automatic. You stop debating with yourself about the gym, the work, the practice. You just do it. You stop wasting energy fighting your own mind. That's the ultimate freedom, the freedom from inner resistance. You won't always win every battle. Some days you'll slip, you'll procrastinate, you'll give in, but even that is part of discipline. Because discipline isn't perfection, it's persistence. It's the decision to come back stronger after every fall. It's refusing to let failure define you. It's standing back up and saying, I'm not done. The disciplined mind is dangerous because it cannot be manipulated. It's not controlled by temptation, by doubt, or by opinion. It moves with purpose. It endures. It finishes. And that kind of strength can't be faked. It must be earned day by day, decision by decision. In the end, discipline is the truest form of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I deserve more than my excuses. And when your actions start reflecting that truth, the world has no choice but to respect you too. Your mind will test you every day, but with discipline, you'll win that battle every time. Because the one who controls their habits controls their mind, and the one who controls their mind controls their life. Emotional control is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about mastering how you respond. It's not about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming unshakable. The truth is, emotions are powerful, but they are also deceptive. They can cloud judgment, distort reality, and push you into decisions you'll regret. The person who learns to control their emotions doesn't lose their humanity. They gain command over it. And that control, that calm in the middle of chaos, is what separates those who break under pressure from those who rise through it. Your emotions are like waves. They come and go, sometimes small, sometimes overwhelming. But the storm isn't the problem. It's how you handle it that defines your strength. Most people let emotions drive their actions. Anger speaks, and they lash out. Fear whispers, and they freeze. Sadness comes, and they stop trying. They don't realize that by reacting to every emotional impulse, they hand over their power to the moment. Emotional control is about reclaiming that power, learning to feel deeply without being ruled by what you feel. When your emotions own you, your life becomes unpredictable. You become reactive. One harsh word ruins your day. One failure destroys your confidence. One rejection makes you question your worth. You live at the mercy of everything that happens outside of you. But when you control your emotions, external chaos loses its grip. You no longer crumble when things go wrong. You stop giving people the remote control to your peace. That's what emotional control truly is, protection of your inner world from the noise of the outer one. Think about how many mistakes are born from impulse. Words spoken in anger that can't be taken back. Decisions made out of fear that keep you small. Opportunities missed because you were too hurt to try again. Most destruction isn't caused by lack of intelligence, but by lack of control. The strongest people aren't the ones who never feel. They're the ones who feel everything, but don't let it dictate their moves. They know emotions are data, not directives. Feelings can inform you, but they shouldn't define you. When anger rises, pause. When fear creeps in, breathe. When sadness hits, observe. Every emotion carries a message. Anger reveals boundaries that were crossed. Fear points to what you care about. Sadness exposes where healing is needed. But if you react too quickly, you miss the lesson. The pause between emotion and action is where your power lives. That small space, that moment of awareness, determines the quality of your life. Because once you master that pause, nothing can control you anymore. The world constantly tests your composure. People will try to provoke you, life will throw uncertainty your way, and your emotions will surge. But your response is your responsibility. It's easy to appear strong when things are calm. True power shows when everything around you is chaos, and you remain composed. The calm person in the storm isn't emotionless. They're in command. They've trained their mind to process emotions before acting on them. That's mental discipline in motion. You can't train emotional control in moments of peace. It's built in discomfort. It's built when you're angry and choose silence instead of explosion. When you're afraid and take a step forward anyway. When you're hurt and choose to heal, not to hurt back. Every time you control an impulse, you grow stronger. You're teaching your mind that it works for you, not the other way around. Emotional control is built the same way strength is, through resistance. The problem is that most people have been taught to react, not reflect. From childhood, emotions are treated like commands. I'm angry, so I must yell. I'm scared, so I must hide. I'm sad, so I must quit. But growth begins when you challenge that programming. You start asking, what if I don't obey this emotion? What if I sit with it, understand it, and then decide what's best? That's emotional maturity, not reacting instantly, but choosing intentionally. You'll notice that people who lack emotional control are easily manipulated. Say the right thing, and you can make them angry, insecure, or distracted. But those who have mastered their emotions can't be moved so easily. You can't guilt them, provoke them, or intimidate them because they know their own triggers. They've done the inner work to understand why they feel what they feel. That's real power. Not needing to prove anything, not needing to respond to everything. Calmness is not weakness, it's command. Anyone can shout. Anyone can react. Anyone can explode. But it takes strength to remain composed when your mind is screaming for reaction. It takes power to walk away from drama that feeds your ego but drains your peace. It takes courage to stay centered when everything inside you wants to break. That's emotional control, the quiet confidence that no one can shake your foundation because you've built it on self-awareness and restraint. You have to understand, emotions are not enemies. They're signals. They tell you where you need to look, what you need to heal, what you need to change. The problem isn't feeling them. The problem is letting them drive the car. Your emotions can sit in the passenger seat, but they don't get to touch the wheel. You listen, you learn, but you lead. That's the difference between reacting from emotion and responding with wisdom. When you control your emotions, you don't just gain peace, you gain perspective. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming every challenge is an attack. You see things as they are, not as your fear paints them to be. You can face rejection without collapsing, failure without giving up, criticism without losing your sense of self. Emotional control gives you clarity, and clarity is power. It doesn't mean you'll never feel overwhelmed. You will. You are human, but even in those moments, you'll know that emotions pass. You'll remember that pain is temporary. Anger fades and fear loses power when faced with courage. Emotional control doesn't erase emotion, it teaches you patience. It allows you to say, I feel this right now, but I will not let it define what I do next. And when you reach that level of mastery, people will notice, they'll see how nothing rattles you, how you don't overreact, how you stay focused, how your presence feels unshakable. That's what true confidence looks like. Not loud, not arrogant, but calm. Because calmness is the ultimate flex. In the end, emotional control is the art of owning your energy. It's the ability to remain centered, no matter what's happening around you. When you can control your emotions, you control your life. You stop wasting energy on meaningless battles. You stop bleeding power through overreaction. You start responding with intention. And that's when you become dangerous. Not because you're hard, but because you're in harmony. Because no storm, no insult, no loss can move someone who commands their inner world. So the next time your emotions rise, don't fight them, face them, feel them, understand them, and then choose how to move. Because the one who learns to control their emotions doesn't just win the battle of the moment, they win the war within. And once you win that war, there's nothing left in the world that can defeat you. Reprogramming the mind is the process of taking back authorship of your own story. It's the moment you stop being a victim of your conditioning and start becoming the architect of your destiny. Every belief, every reaction, every habit you carry, it was programmed by your environment, your past, your experiences, and your fears. Most people never question this programming. They just live it. They repeat the same mistakes, attract the same chaos, and call it fate. But fate isn't written in the stars. It's written in the mind. And until you rewrite those scripts, you'll keep living the same chapter over and over, even when you think you've moved on. The mind is a storyteller. It tells you who you are, what you can do, and what's possible for you. But here's the truth. Most of those stories aren't yours. They're borrowed from your parents' fears, your teacher's doubts, society's expectations, the failures of your past. Somewhere along the line, you stopped questioning them. You accepted them as truth. You let your mind repeat them until they became your identity. I'm not confident enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lucky. People like me don't succeed. These aren't truths. They're viruses. And reprogramming the mind is about deleting them, replacing them with beliefs that serve your growth instead of your limits. It begins with awareness, the ability to see your thoughts for what they are. Patterns, not prophecy. The uncontrolled mind clings to old narratives because they feel safe. Painful, yes, but familiar. The mind would rather live in a predictable hell than step into an uncertain heaven. That's why change feels so hard. You're not just fighting habits, you're fighting identity. Every time you try to rise higher, your mind pulls you back to what it knows. It whispers, don't do that. You'll fail. You've been here before. But that voice isn't wisdom. It's fear disguised as logic. To reprogram your mind, you have to challenge that voice. You have to speak to it like a leader speaks to a stubborn soldier, with firmness and direction. When your mind says, you can't, you say, watch me. When it says, you failed before, you say, then I know how to win this time. You don't negotiate with doubt. You override it with new data, new experiences, and new self-talk. Because repetition is what built your old beliefs, and repetition is what will destroy them. Your mind doesn't understand what's real. It understands what's repeated. The more you repeat something, the more your brain wires it as truth. That's why negative thoughts are so dangerous, not because they're true, but because they're consistent. Every "I can't" leaves a mark. Every "I'm not enough" becomes a groove in your brain that deepens with time. But the good news is this: the brain is plastic. It can be rewired. You can literally build new neural pathways through repetition and focus. That's the science behind affirmations, visualization, and intentional thinking. Not magic, but rewiring. Start with how you speak to yourself. Language shapes belief. The words you use every day are programming commands to your subconscious mind. Stop saying, "I'm tired." Start saying, "I'm recharging." Stop saying, "I'm stressed." Start saying, "I'm handling a lot, but I've got this." Your mind listens. It obeys. If you feed it weakness, it becomes weak. If you feed it strength, it becomes unstoppable. You have to become the gatekeeper of your mental dialogue, ruthless about what you allow in, because every thought is a seed, and your mind is the soil. You can't grow confidence if you keep planting doubt. Reprogramming also requires exposure. You can't think your way into a new mindset. You must experience it. Read what challenges your perspective. Spend time with people who stretch your standards. Enter environments that demand your evolution. The mind adapts to what it's surrounded by. If you live in chaos, your thoughts will reflect chaos. If you surround yourself with growth, your mind will mirror expansion. You can't expect mental clarity if you're living in mental pollution. Clean your inputs, your conversations, your media, your habits, because what you consume becomes what you think, and what you think becomes who you are. But don't mistake reprogramming for pretending. You don't need to fake positivity or deny pain. Real reprogramming isn't about lying to yourself. It's about reframing truth. It's saying, "This hurts, but it's teaching me something." It's saying, "I failed, but I learned." It's saying, "I'm scared, but I'll move anyway." It's not about delusion, it's about direction. You're not erasing the past, you're assigning it new meaning, because the past only controls you if you keep interpreting it through pain. Once you reinterpret it through strength, it becomes fuel. Reprogramming the mind also means understanding how emotion anchors belief. The most powerful memories you have are tied to feelings: fear, joy, humiliation, triumph. To install a new belief, you must attach emotion to it. Don't just say, "I am strong." Feel what strength feels like. Don't just say, "I am calm." Breathe like calmness is your natural state. The subconscious doesn't speak language, it speaks emotion. The more vividly you feel your new identity, the faster your mind accepts it as truth. And understand this: reprogramming takes time. You're undoing years, maybe decades of conditioning. You'll fall back into old patterns. You'll catch yourself thinking the same negative thoughts, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's persistence. Every time you notice and correct, you're rewriting the code. Every time you choose awareness over autopilot, you're upgrading your mental software. Change happens slowly, then suddenly. One day you'll realize the thoughts that used to control you don't even cross your mind anymore. That's when you'll know you've shifted from chaos to command. When your mind is reprogrammed, you stop chasing peace. You embody it. You stop fighting your thoughts. They start working for you. Your inner voice becomes a coach, not a critic. Your focus sharpens, your emotions stabilize, and your energy becomes directed. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. That's what mental mastery feels like: calm, clear, and confident. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are not the stories you were told. You are the one who decides what all of it means now. The chaos in your mind isn't permanent. It's a signal. It's your mind begging for leadership. And when you step up and take that role, when you stop letting your thoughts run wild and start giving them structure, everything changes. Your mind is the engine of your reality. If it's filled with chaos, your life will reflect confusion. If it's filled with clarity, your life will reflect direction. The command you seek out there begins in here. The transformation you crave starts with one decision: to lead your mind before it leads you. Because the moment you take command of your thoughts, your emotions, your focus, you take command of your life. At the end of it all, it comes down to one truth. Your greatest battle was never with the world outside of you. It was never your circumstances, your critics, or the people who doubted you. The real war has always been within, a war between the version of you that surrenders to fear and the version of you that dares to rise above it. Every dream you ever had, every goal you ever abandoned, every moment you held yourself back, it wasn't the world stopping you. It was your own mind whispering, "Not yet, not you, not possible," and you believed it. You let that voice dictate your limits. You let your emotions run your decisions. You let your fears disguise themselves as logic. But that ends today. Because today you understand that your mind is not your master, it's your instrument. And just like any instrument, it only plays as beautifully as you train it to. The mind that once sabotaged you can now serve you. The thoughts that once drained you can now drive you. The emotions that once controlled you can now fuel your focus. You have always had the power, you just forgot where it was. It was never in control of others, never in changing the world to fit your comfort. It was in mastering the world within. Discipline, awareness, and emotional control. These are not words, they are weapons. Weapons that defend your peace, protect your purpose, and sharpen your focus. When you master them, nothing and no one can break you. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop being a puppet to your impulses and start leading with intention. That is what true freedom feels like. Not a life without problems, but a mind that cannot be broken by them. Understand this. Peace is not found in silence or retreat. Peace is the result of power. The kind of power that comes when you have tamed your mind. When you can stand in the middle of chaos and remain calm. When you can face pain without losing purpose. When you can feel fear, but act anyway. That is mastery. That is command. That is what separates those who merely survive from those who lead, build, and inspire. You can conquer the world, but if you don't conquer your mind, you will lose it all. You can have everything, success, recognition, relationships, but if your mind is in chaos, nothing will ever be enough. So start where it matters most. Go within, face the voice that tries to stop you, reprogram it, discipline it, lead it. Because when your mind obeys your purpose, life bends to your command. And one day when you look back, you won't see a life of luck or coincidence. You'll see a life of conscious creation. You'll realize that every victory began the moment you stopped running from your mind and started mastering it. That was the day everything changed. So remember this, your biggest enemy was never the world. It was the mind you left untrained. But your greatest ally, it's that same mind. Once you take control of it, the moment you do, no fear can touch you, no failure can define you, and no obstacle can break you. Because the one who masters the mind, masters everything.